Good morning, everyone. Well, I don't know when you're watching this. Hi, everybody. I'm Dorothy, Professional Astrologer. Right here, you can find me on the web, nahastrologer.com. I'm going to talk to you about the week of May 11th. And there are three main things I'm going to talk about today, and that's the retrograde of Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter, and what that means for us and the overall look of that, okay? It's not specific to your chart. That's how I like to do forecasts. And for those of you who don't know me, you can go to my website, read the forecast there. I don't do it word for word. I write it out so I can get my thoughts together. I publish that on my website, and then I come here, I'll look at my notes, but then I just talk. And so more information comes out in two different places. And a lot of the same stuff comes out in both places too. So come to my website, join my newsletter email list. I send out once a week. That's it. I don't harass people. I'm not one of those folks who throw emails at you every 2 days when you first sign up, or at all, actually. So come here, listen, and I'm going to talk to you about what we have going on for this week. All right. So lots of information is coming at us right now, and I'll share my screen in a few minutes so you get to see what I'm talking about too. But I wanted to start off with how I saw this week, because every year I do, for a number of years now, I do an astrology forecast for the year ahead as a lecture with my colleague, Darlene Chadbourne, and she does the numerology. And we do lectures all around our area. We've not done any online. We haven't done one online. It's been quite a few years. And I don't do it here on YouTube because it's just something I like to do in person for people as a presentation. When I was looking at this week of May 11th, back nearly a year ago, because I usually start it in the the late summer, early fall, I was looking at this week of May 11th, and I'm like, wowee, there's a lot, we're going to be moving ahead. Things are going to be moving very quickly and very fast. January, February, March, April. But when we get to May 11th, it's going to be like all stop. The vision that came in my head was, this is from movies because I've never been on a train, was when people pull the emergency cord on a train and you hear this loud screeching and you hear, and the stop jolts full and the train jolts and everybody kind of moves and there's this sudden stop of energy that's really surprising and shocking and loud, and it just attacks all the senses. And that's what it looked like to me when I saw May 11th. Now, what does that mean? That means that there's a lot of things are stopped right now. So I've been thinking about this for weeks and weeks now, that we're in this global pandemic. And I know that's redundant. So when we're in the pandemic and everything has been shut down for such a long time, the things that are growing and moving quickly could be personal. I mean, my business, I've been really reassessing my business and going through a lot of things and moving forward quickly in certain areas that are very helpful for me. So there are positive ways that we could use this energy that has been going on since January. Of course, we see the pandemic. That's something that's been growing, whether it's the virus itself, fear around it, insecurities around it, all these different bits of information that I'm getting bombarded with about, this is what happened here. This is how this started. Whew. Personally, if you don't know me, this is what I do. I like to give us information that we can use personally. There are things going on in the world. Absolutely. I want to give you personal information, and I'm always going to give you information, the best way to use things. Yes, they're difficult things, and I'm going to talk about that today, but I'm also going to give you ways to use this energy. All right. So when I see what's going on and what I thought, but now that what I know, as we are slowly moving towards reopening, some states are starting to open the doors halfway through May, which is this week of May 11th, and start to test the waters and just see if we do get back out there, what's it going to look like? Who knows? So we'll find out. And so what I want us to do is to take things slowly. So we might get back to work, some of us, and some of us might not yet. Most of these planets are retrograde for 4 months. And by the time they're done, Pluto's already in, but Uranus will join at the end of the year. Venus is there. Mars will join in the fall. So this is typical to have retrogrades. And the retrogrades, the overall energy of that is like, it's a process of internalizing things. So I know we're all itching to get out. So this week before And the week after this week of May 11, we're having, we're really wanting to get out, but some people will with all, abandon. And then some people will go out very cautiously and other people won't go out at all. Personal choices and personal beliefs. So that's what we have going on there. And so I am curious. I'm not an astrologer that does things globally. I like I said, to focus on what's important for you personally. So we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen. Actually, I don't have anything up yet. So I'm going to put up May 11. And now let's come over here and share the screen. As a big truck drives by. Oh, two of them. Power trucks. Okay, let's share the screen. Here we are. And I'm sharing now. Okay. So let's get started. What we have here is, this is the chart for Saturn, right down here. Saturn stationary at 1 degree and 57 minutes of Aquarius. So when we have Saturn stationary and it's sitting right next to, who is that? Pallas Athena. Yeah. By the way, this is Solar Fire software, and if you would like to get it, I have a discount code for you, NH Astro. So if you go onto their website and you want to purchase this software, NH Astro gives you a 15% discount. Okay, message me if you need more. When we have Saturn stationary, now what we have going on with this one, and it's conjunct Pallas Athena, with Saturn conjunct Pallas as a retrograde and as a stationary planet, this is when we feel really, really stuck and like we have no way of moving forward. The days, and especially with the slower moving planets like Saturn, it's going to be like a week on either side of its retrograde stationary day that we may feel very frustrated and like time is standing still and we just want to get out. Saturn is about those boundaries and the restrictions, and Uranus is about freedom and independence, socializing in large groups. And right there with Pallas Athena, it creates this fear and misunderstanding and a lot of stress. So this Saturn energy stationary can create a lot of problems, all right? Especially if you're coming from a place of fear. The Capricorn Saturn energy can stir up fear in all of us in one way or another. And so when we have that going on, the energy of this can feel very edgy and very rough. So what I would like you to focus on or to think about in your own way, so here's positive ways to use it, is in the area of where you have control. Whether you are a person who's working, how will you slowly get back to a regular routine or find something that just feels much more secure for you, all right? What does that mean? It's going to be specific for each one of us because we all have this Saturn stationing somewhere in our chart, that wheel. Here, we have it down here just for New Hampshire because this is where I live. The station of it is in the first house. So that represents, how I'm approaching the world, how my persona to the world. And so what do you want to do with this is, for example, you can slowly figure out how to start working on your business or working again on those things that have some solid meaning to you. All right. So that's a piece of that. Now, let's see. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to hit pause for a second. I have to sneeze. Okay. Allergy season. So now that Saturn is retrograde and he's going to slowly get moving, it'll take a few days for him to even look like he's moving at all. And then he'll back into Capricorn in a few weeks. What we have with this is this is the loosening up of those restrictions, those boundaries, and we're going to be able to maybe start to feel a little more space. Now, it can also bring up for many of us, because this has been so sudden and this is scary for some people, And it's like, well, what do I need to do now while Saturn is retrograde for the next 4.5 months? What do I need to do? So if this happens again, or even if it doesn't happen again, even if there is a surge in the fall, it's nothing, we're going to be more prepared than we were this time around. So it won't feel the same way. But what are your securities and how do you feel secure? And I want you just to focus in on that for your own sake. Don't go to the fear, but if you need to go to the fear to see what's coming up, so you can say, well, I'm afraid of this, and this is why I've been so unsettled for such a long time. And then you can work with it and address it and move through it. If you need help with that, that's my job. So you come and you message me and we'll figure an appointment out. But that's what you have to, that's what we need to do, is we need to work through the things that are coming up, especially Saturn related, which is fear and my stability. And we need to work with that. And as the planet is retrograde, we have more of an opportunity to internalize that and work on it from the inside out. All right. So try that for yourself and just see how that feels. And again, if you need more help with that, you go ahead and get a hold of me. The next thing I want to talk about, I mean, we have other things going on. Mercury enters Gemini, yay, in its own sign. Oh, people are really going to start, it's going to be like kicking a hornet's nest. Sorry, bug lovers. That's also on Monday, even though Saturn is like sitting there, no, we can't move. Mercury in Gemini says, I need to get out, I need to run, I need to drive, I need to walk, I need to communicate. It's freedom. We want that freedom, right? We want that freedom to communicate. It's the overwhelming information that we're getting. Like I said, I'm constantly getting bombarded through Messenger on Facebook. Watch this video, watch this video, watch this video. Nope. I pick and choose what I want to watch. I don't watch anything anybody sends me. If I find it on my own, I do it. Mercury in Gemini, overwhelming information. We're getting overwhelmed with information. Yeah, that's definitely happening now. On Tuesday, the 12th, we have Mars entering Pisces. If you are on the West Coast, it is the 13th. If you're on the East Coast, same thing with Venus retrograde. So let's talk about Venus retrograde next. If you want to Mars in Pisces, and go read that in my forecast on my website. Venus retrograde. So let's pull that chart up. It should be right here. Is that the Venus retrograde? I think so. Let's take a look. There it is. Yes. All right. So Venus retrograde. There she is. Again, the location is for my latitude and longitude. Venus retrograde in the sign of Gemini. And so what are we going to work with, and how are we going to work with this? So the energy of that is, first of all, I love Venus in Gemini. That's where it is for me. I value communicating. Gemini. Value is Venus. You know, I love to gather information. Like I just said, we can get overwhelmed though, but I still love it. So now that Venus is almost all the way through Gemini, but she stops in retrograde, she's going to take a lot of weeks to move through this area as opposed to just 3 short weeks. The last time she was retrograde in Gemini was 8 years ago. All right. So you can look back to that period and see what came up. So Venus only retrogrades every 19 months. So this is something that isn't a regular occurrence. So how are we going to use this? Venus is, as it's retrograde, first off, is a time where we are communicating with old friends, old lovers, old partners. It's retrograde. It's internal, internalizing information, internalizing what we love and value, but it's also finishing up old karma, finishing up karma with somebody, or finishing processing how that worked. Do you forgive each other? Things like that. All right. So you have an opportunity to, you know, remove this energy from your life if it's something that's still sort of bugging you, right? I had that happen. I can't go into it here, but it's all good. So we have this opportunity with Venus retrograde in Gemini to really examine and have those important conversations with somebody from the past that you need to finish something up with. Now, you don't have to go seeking them, but you might really just feel like you need to. And that's exactly one of the ways to use Venus retrograde in Gemini. Now, a lot of people have been, you've been isolating and quarantining together, and You may have come together even closer than ever before, and this Venus in Gemini is beautiful for that. But some other people are like, wow, I don't know, maybe I'm not a fan of you anymore because spending so much time with you, I realize that this isn't working anymore. So we're going to have various conversations. Everybody's different. And so I want you to think about that and realize that this is an opportunity while Venus is retrograde. She retrogrades May 13th. I believe it's to June 24th. I should have that in my head by now, but I do. But it's during the, it goes direct on June 24th or the 25th, depending on where you live. And that's after we have 2 eclipses. So those forecasts would be fantastic too. So take your time to examine these things. Now, Venus also rules money. And so Venus retrograde is so many unemployed people right now. That is definitely a fear around money. And again, you can use the Saturn once it gets back into Capricorn to figure out, how do I make my life more stable financially? Okay. And Venus retrograde in Gemini can do that too. Can bring all that up so we can figure out what's the best way to do it. These retrograde energies and this isolation period is going to give a lot of people an opportunity to decide. It's like, maybe we have jobs to go back to, maybe we don't, but it's nice. It's nice to get into alignment with what you truly love and value, Venus. All right. And is it having a job just to put food on the table? And if the answer is yes, then that's great. But if you're somebody who's like, all right, well, I can have that, but I really want to do my heart's desire. If you use Venus in the right way by using your skills and talents and doing something that you love, you're going to earn money and it's going to feel really good to you. And for the most part, it won't feel like work at all. So that's how we can use this Venus in Gemini retrograde, Saturn, Aquarius, Capricorn retrograde. So we have these opportunities. Now, typically as well with Venus retrograde, I typically advise people this is not the time to commit to a new relationship. Now, doesn't mean you have to not have a relationship. It just means that when Venus is retrograde, there's so much karma behind relationships and the things that you're working through that it's not typically the best time to get married. Now, if you've been somebody who's been together, if you're a pair, a couple who have been together for a decade, and you finally decide to get married, of course, because you've waited and waited and waited, and that retrograde period is a great way to use that energy. I know a lot of weddings have been postponed because of the venues can't host them right now. And so this is happening during Venus retrograde. So if that is you, then see that as an opportunity and a blessing. So when you do get to have your big celebration and ceremony, Venus won't be retrograde. That's just an option. Again, always looking for the light side of things. All right, so that's those pieces. So we're going to move on next to, Jupiter retrograde. So Jupiter retrograde, May 14th, 2:32 a.m. East Coast time, okay? So what is this about? So over the last number of months, a lot of months, Jupiter's been in Capricorn since the end of last year. So Jupiter in Capricorn, not his favorite place, but it's there. The planet has to take its energy. So Jupiter is expansive, it's gift giving, it is a blessing. But it can only work through the sign it's in. It can only express itself through the sign it's in. That means Capricorn. Capricorn, we know what that is. We've already talked about it. It's restricting. It's about the rules and regulations and responsibilities and governments and systems. Now, the systems that got too big, or the way things that have gotten too big are now starting to break down. Now that breakdown started to happen when Jupiter made its conjunction to Pluto, and that was exact in April, but it was an applying aspect. The eclipse in January really triggered that. So of course that's the pandemic as well. Pluto is like a lot of death. and a lot of fear and death, and Jupiter expanded that. So that's why, that's that little piece of the global bit. But what do we want to do, you and me, as Jupiter makes its station on the 14th, and how are we going to use this over the next few months? It'll be about 4 months while it's retrograding. And it will come back and it will conjunct Pluto again in June, and then in the end of the year when they're both retrograde, direct again. So back to this. So whatever has felt really solid and stable for a long time, I know this sounds like I'm repeating myself, but we have similar energies going on in play, especially since they're all piled together. Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. So with Jupiter retrograde in this Capricorn energy, it's going to start breaking things down. And we've already seen that. I mean, big government, which is Capricorn energy, has stepped up and is, financially doing its best to support people. But there's a lot of holes in the systems. And again, no political comments, I'll delete you. Because I'm just looking and examining what this energy represents for all of us. So there's a lot of holes and a lot of breakdowns in the system, and that is very important for us to recognize, and that's what this period of time is about, okay? So how do you want to use it? Is there something, there's my rainbow right here coming through my prism on the window. It's on my hand. See, I'm a Gemini. That's why sometimes I don't do these live, because I lose my my focus. And I did. Where was I? Big holes in the system. How do you want to use it? How can you step up and over this time that Jupiter's retrograde in Capricorn, what are you building upon? Because if things have fallen apart and crumbled because there was too much growth too fast, or the system we were working with, or you were working with, is too old and you need to up your game, you need to let go of the old ways of doing things. That's Capricorn. It's great. The stability is great with Capricorn, but if it's too old and the energies that are coming in that are in play are saying we need to move forward in a different way. So the systems are going through a big change. And we're about to have, the lunar nodes are about to shift into new signs, the Gemini and Sag area. And what that means is over the next 18 months, excuse me, we have this opportunity to build in a new way. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, by the way. What can we do with this? Where you have integrity and what remains for you now, and then as you're rebuilding over the next 3, 4, 5 months, right, you will be building on a much more solid ground. So over the next few months, as things sort of fall away, and you're right now, I could probably hear some of you saying, oh my God, can anything else happen? No. Can anything else fall away? Yeah, because it's going to help bring us down to the core of our truth. Excuse me, and what we can totally believe in, and being very authentic. That's Jupiter. Speaking our truth, being authentic. And this is not woo-woo, this is very honest energy. So you're going to be able to take that step towards more integrity for yourself and more truth and honesty for yourself. All right? Oh my God, there is so much more to talk about. And yeah, I'm going to leave you with that for now, because there's just so much more. Come to the website and you can read the other little tidbits that I have. And if you want to know more, I mean, at the tier 3, on my Patreon page, my Patreon group, I will a couple times a month, besides doing the full month ahead and in-depth conversations about these things, I'll do a couple extra every month where it's just a Q&A. I will talk about these retrograde planets more in depth, so you can come and join me there anytime. And all the links are below here on YouTube and on my website if you're not watching this on YouTube. All right, guys, thank you so much. We've got this. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have what it takes to move through this. Examine those emotions and those feelings that are coming up, move through it. And if you want some help and guidance, that's my specialty. So you let me know, and I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you next week. Blessings. And I can stop my share. There we go. All right. And I really didn't share a whole lot though, did I? I just stayed stuck on one thing. All right, guys, thank you. Blessings. Namaste. Have to find the stop recording. There it is.